Mom accidentally adds me into a group chat called Happy Family. In the group chat, I saw Mom, Dad, and a stranger who's nicknamed Sweetheart. They are in the middle of organizing a birthday party for him. However, the thing is, tomorrow will be my birthday, which they have forgotten for the 10th time in a row. Mom says the venue must be dreamy. I want him to feel like an actual prince. Dad, I transfers a huge sum of money to Sweetheart. Money is no problem. Just do not let Christopher find out about this. It'll screw things up for us. I quietly take screenshots of everything, planning to find a chance to expose my parents' true colors and end everything with them once and for all. At that moment, my younger sister, who's always been great at her studies, sends me a screenshot via our private chat. It's a screenshot of the chat history between her and Mom. Mom, have you made preparations for Christopher's surprise party yet? You promised me that this is the last time you'd lied to him. I stared at the screenshots my sister Susie Blake had sent me, and my heart sank. A surprise. The last time they would ever lie to me. That explains so much. Every year on my birthday, my parents would brush me off with all sorts of excuses. Chris, something urgent came up at work. Mom once said, Chris, I have got a meeting with a friend about business. Order some takeout for yourself. Dad once said this here. They did not even bother with excuses. They had simply replaced me with someone else. I tossed my phone aside. My chest felt as if something heavy had lodged itself there. Another WhatsApp message from Susie popped up. Christopher, do not overthink it. Mom and Dad just. I replied with just 2 words. Got it? Overthink it. How could I not overthink it? The facts were right in front of me. That birthday party for their sweetheart was the so-called surprise they had lied to me about. As their biological son, I was nothing more than a backdrop for another boy's happiness. I heard Mom's hushed voice from the living room as she spoke on the phone. Wait. We'll go with blue balloons. The biggest and brightest ones. Ben loves blue the most, so it has to be perfect for him. Ben. Listening closely to their conversation, I pieced together the boy's full name. Benjamin Smith. I picked up my phone and searched for the name on Instagram. Soon, a boy with a polished profile picture appeared. His highlighted stories were filled with glamorous photos of him traveling around the world. His most recent Instagram story was a photo of him with my parents, taken in my living room. In the photo, Mom and Dad's smiles were warm and loving. Mom's arm rested affectionately on Benjamin's shoulder, while Dad stood beside him with eyes full of indulgence. Was an expression I had never once seen on their faces. The caption read, "Thank you, Mr. Blake and Mrs. Blake. I am really looking forward to tomorrow's party. Mom left a comment underneath. So a child, Teresa. No need to be so formal with us. Meanwhile, Dad gave the post a like. What a perfect family. I saved the photo along with the group chat screenshots and stored them in my encrypted album. These would be the surprises I planned to give them tomorrow at dinner. Mom made soup and served me a bowl with exaggerated attentiveness. Chris, try it. I made this especially for you, she said. I looked at the greasy chicken soup. My throat tightened as a wave of nausea surged up. This supposed to liven up Benjamin's birthday party? I asked lightly. The smile on Mom's face froze. She glanced at Dad and his expression darkened immediately. What nonsense are you talking about, Benjamin? He replied. Oh, look. It's like you forget things easily, Dad. I took out my phone and opened the photo. Is not this boy your so-called sweetheart? Dad's face turned ashen. In an instant, Mom rushed to smooth things over. Chris misunderstood as the son of an important client of mine. We are just helping to organize his birthday party. A client's son? I sneered. Is he important enough to have a whole group chat? To be tagged as sweetheart? And to even receive a large money transfer? Is he important enough to make you ignore your own son's birthday entirely? In an instant, the living room fell silent. Except for the sound of breathing. Susie rushed out of her room and grabbed my arm. Christopher, let's not get carried away. I shook her off. What? Are you going to help Mom and Dad lie to me too? Susie's face turned pale, her lips moved. But not a single word came out. The next day, on my birthday, the house was empty. $100 and a note were left on the table. The note was in Mom's handwriting. Chris, the money is on the table. Buy yourself something good to eat. My parents had treated me with the same indifference for 10 years. Even the amount of money they gave me had never changed. I crumpled the bill into a tight ball and tossed it into the trash. After last night ended badly, they stopped pretending altogether. I heard Mom talking on the phone in her room. Her voice was brimming with excitement. The venue is already set up. It looks just like a fairy tale. Dad was giving instructions on the balcony. Bring the bottle of 82 to the fight. We have to make sure Ben enjoys himself today. All the while, I drifted through the house like a ghost. Susie left early that morning. Before she went, she glanced at me with a complicated look. Christopher, no matter what you see, trust me. Trust her. Trust that she was part of this deception, too. I let out a cold laugh and said nothing. Around noon, a delivery truck stopped downstairs. Two workers unloaded an enormous gift box, tied with an exaggerated blue bow. I stood by the window and watched. It turned out that to them, I did not even deserve a gift. Mom hurried downstairs, smiling from ear to ear as she signed for the delivery. She directed the workers with extreme care, afraid it might get damaged. I recognized the logo. It was a limited edition piano released just last month, priced well into 6 figures. Meanwhile, my old piano, which I had used for 10 years, had yellowed keys and was out of tune. I had hinted at it to Mom before, but she always replied, if it still works. Using it, the household expenses are heavy. It turned out that the expenses were not the problem. I simply was not worth it. The last trace of hope in my heart was completely extinguished. That afternoon, I changed into a black suit. I neatly styled my hair and adjusted my appearance to conceal the exhaustion in my eyes. I not let them see me in such a disheveled state. I would draw a clear line between us. With my head held high, I had overheard the address for the party during Mom's phone call the night before. They had reserved the most prestigious banquet hall in the city. I took a cab there. Along the way, the driver kept marveling at the impending event. Young man, what big occasion is it today? The road ahead is blocked. I heard that some rich family is throwing a birthday party for their son, and it's incredibly extravagant. I forced a faint smile and said nothing. Yeah, the party was grand. So grand that it was built on 10 years of my grievances. A long red carpet stretched across the entrance of the hall, flanked by rows of blue rose arrangements. On the welcome sign at the entrance, elegant cursive letters read, Happy birthday to my sweetheart. It was signed with love, your Mom and Dad. I stared at those words, finding them painfully glaring. I took out my phone and sent Susie a message. I am here to see your so-called surprise. Then I took a deep breath and stepped inside in my leather shoes. Inside the banquet hall, glasses clinked and laughter filled the air. My parents stood in the middle of the crowd, smiling warmly as they entertained the guests. Beside them stood a boy dressed in a blue formal suit. That was Benjamin. He looked like a proud peacock, basking in everyone's attention and well wishes. Mom personally placed an exquisite diamond crown on his head and said gently, Ben, today you are our most precious little prince. Dad handed him a velvet box containing a dazzling diamond necklace. Do you like it? I had it custom made just for you. Benjamin smiled sweetly. Thank you, Mr. Blake and Mrs. Blake. You are so good to me. The guests around them gasped in admiration. Oliver, I cannot believe how well you are treating your godson. You are doting on him more than your own son. Exactly. With generosity like this we can note of and compare. Oliver has only a godson and you are already treating him like this. If it were your own son's birthday, you'd probably pluck the stars from the sky. My parents laughed heartily. They waved their hands repeatedly and said it's the least we could do. No one noticed me standing in the corner. I held up my phone and recorded the scene clearly. Then I straightened my suit, picked up a glass of champagne, and slowly walked toward them. The surrounding noise seemed to fade away. All I could see was that harmonious family of three. Mom raised her glass and announced to the guests, "Thank you all for coming to celebrate our sweetheart's birthday today." Your sweetheart? I asked. I repeated Mom's words in an icy tone. The smiles on my parents' faces vanished instantly. Mom reacted faster. She stepped forward and reached for my hand. But I turned aside and avoided her. "Chris, why are you here?" she asked. Her voice trembled. "Come here. Let me introduce you. This is..." I cut her off, fixing my gaze squarely on Benjamin. "This is Benjamin Smith, your sweetheart, right?" The smile faded from Benjamin's face. As well, he looked at me, visibly at a loss. A flicker of sympathy passed through his eyes, before he turned to my parents for help. "Who is this? A guest?" asked. Dad's face darkened completely. He lowered his voice and snapped. "Christopher Blake, stop causing trouble here and go home." "Causing trouble?" I laughed coldly. "Dad, did you forget what day it is? Today is also your own son's birthday." "Mine?" I spoke every word clearly. Gasps and murmurs spread through the crowd. Everyone's eyes shifted back and forth between my parents and me, filled with curiosity and gossip. As the murmurs reached my parents, their expressions darkened. Mom's lips trembled. Dad's eyes went from panic to furious. "That's enough." Dad slammed his hand on the table. "Did you really have to ruin everything today?" "Ruin everything?" I raised my phone and clicked on a video. "Mom, who's really ruining everything? Who's the one who's preparing a surprise for me, while putting a crown on someone else and giving him a necklace?" On the screen, the footage clearly showed Mom gently placing the crown on Benjamin's head. "Today, you are our most precious little prince," she said. Those words echoed through the silent banquet hall. From the phone speaker, all the color drained from Mom's face. I switched to the group photo. "And this? How did the son of your so-called important client become your sweetheart?" I turned the screen toward the crowd so everyone could see the photo, and the comments beneath it. The guests' faces contorted with surprise, judgment and disbelief. Dad trembled with rage. He jabbed a finger at me wordlessly. "Christopher Blake, you what?" I asked. I met his gaze. My eyes were welling up, but my voice stayed cold. "I just want to ask you this in person. Does having a new son feel so much better than having me? What did I do to deserve being humiliated and cast aside like this?" My voice grew louder, echoing the 10 years of anguish I suffered. Benjamin's face turned pale. He tugged at Mom's sleeve and whispered, "Mrs. Blake?" "Yes?" Mom yanked her hand away from him. She looked at me with eyes full of regret. "Chris, it's not what you think. It's really not what you think. Then what is it?" I demanded. "Come on, say it." At that moment, the doors of the banquet hall were pushed open. Susie rushed in. When she saw the tense standoff, her face went pale. She ran up to me and gripped my arm tightly. Her voice was shaking. "Christopher, listen to my explanation." "Enough. I do not want to hear any more explanations from you," I shouted. I struggled to break free from her. I had already achieved my purpose. Today, I wanted everyone to see the true faces of my so-called model parents, letting the carefully crafted image they had spent years building fall apart. Today I raised my phone high. Ready to project the group chat screenshots onto the big screen. "Mom, Dad, this show is over." Just as I was about to press the projection button, Susie snatched my phone and clutched it tightly to her chest. "Christopher, please. Just wait 5 more minutes. Her eyes were red and her voice was filled with desperation. 5 minutes? I repeated, my voice hoarse. The room was spinning, the smell of expensive perfume and champagne making me nauseous. Susie, give me the phone. No. Susie cried, tears streaming down her face. She turned to Mom, her eyes pleading. Mom, tell him. Tell him why we're doing this. You promised that once we got the evidence, we would leave. You said this party was the trap. The banquet hall fell dead silent. The guests, previously whispering, were now statues. Benjamin looked confused, holding his diamond necklace. Mom's face went through a kaleidoscope of expressions, shock, panic, and finally, a cold, hardening resolve. She straightened her dress, walked over to Susie, and gently pried the phone from her fingers. Silly girl, Mom said, her voice smooth as silk but loud enough for the microphone to catch. You've been watching too many spy movies. Susie froze. What? Mom turned to me, her eyes devoid of the warmth she had shown Benjamin just seconds ago. Chris, stop making a scene. Your sister is clearly overwrought. There is no trap. There is no evidence. We are simply celebrating Ben because, well, because he deserves it. Deserves it? I stepped forward, the adrenaline numbing my pain. And I don't. I'm your son. Dad stepped in front of Mom, shielding her. Chris, we didn't want to tell you this way, but since you're intent on humiliating us, you leave us no choice. He gestured to the crowd. The reason we celebrate Benjamin, and the reason we have been distant with you, is a matter of destiny. He signaled to a waiter, who brought over a projector remote. Dad clicked it. The screen behind them changed from the "Happy Birthday Sweetheart" banner to a complex astrological chart and a medical report. 10 years ago, Dad announced, addressing the room like a CEO giving a quarterly report, our business was failing. My health was declining. We consulted Master Thorne, a spiritual advisor to the elite. He told us that our biological son, Christopher, carried a star of solitude, an energy that drains the fortune of those around him. The crowd gasped. I stood there, stunned. Astrology? They ignored me for a decade because of a fortune teller. Master Thorne found Benjamin, Mom added, her hand resting on Ben's shoulder. Ben is a solar child. His presence brings wealth and vitality. And it worked. Look at us now. But the master said, for the luck to hold, the solar child must be treated as a prince, and the star of solitude must be kept humble. Invisible. She looked at me with a chilling pragmatism. We didn't starve you, Chris. We gave you a roof. But we couldn't love you. It would have ruined the family fortune. I looked at Susie. She looked as broken as I felt. She had believed Mom was playing a long con to divorce Dad. In reality, Mom was just as crazy as he was. They were slaves to greed and superstition. So, I whispered, the absurdity of it cutting through the rage. I'm a bad luck charm. And he's a rabbit's foot. It's for the greater good, Dad said dismissively. Now, apologize to your brother Ben for ruining his night, and maybe we won't cut your allowance. I looked at Benjamin. The boy was smirking now. He realized he was untouchable. I looked at the piano in the corner of the stage, the Steinway they had bought for him, the one I wasn't allowed to touch. Apologize? I laughed. It started low and erupted into a manic cackle. You people are insane. You're actually insane. I walked past Susie, who was sobbing on the floor. I walked past my parents, who flinched as if I were contagious. I walked up to the stage. Chris, get down. Dad roared. I sat at the Steinway. The keys were pristine. I hadn't played a real piano in years, only the broken, out-of-tune upright in my room. I took a deep breath. I didn't play Happy Birthday. I played Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C-sharp minor. I poured 10 years of silence, 10 years of cold soups, 10 years of forgotten birthdays into the keys. The chords crashed through the hall like thunder. It was violent, beautiful, and terrifying. When I finished the final, stomping chords, the silence was heavier than before. I stood up, grabbed the microphone stand, and looked at my parents. You want to talk about luck? I said, my voice steady. You think I'm the drain on this family? Fine. I'll leave. Let's see how long your solar child keeps you rich when he's spending money he didn't earn. I pulled my phone out of Susie's hand as I walked by her. Susie, if you're smart, you'll get out too. But I'm done. I walked out of the banquet hall. Behind me, I heard Mom screeching at the staff to cut the feed, but the damage was done. I had live-streamed the entire explanation. The world now knew the Blake Empire was run by lunatics. I spent my birthday night under a bridge in the city park, clutching my suit jacket. It was cold, but for the first time in 10 years, the cold felt honest. The next morning, I pawned my watch, the only gift Susie had ever managed to sneak me, and bought a bus ticket to New York. I changed my name. Christopher Blake was dead. I was just Chris Soule. If they wanted me to be the star of Solitude, I'd own it. Life was brutal. I washed dishes in a jazz club in the village. I slept in a hostel with bedbugs. But every night, after the club closed, the owner, an old man named Mr. Henderson, let me play the battered piano in the back. You play like you're trying to kill the instrument, kid, Henderson told me one night, handing me a sandwich. I'm trying to kill the memories, I replied. Use it, he said. Don't just bang on the keys. Bleed on them. 2 years passed. I didn't look back. I had no phone, no social media. I didn't know if the Blakes were rich or poor, and I told myself I didn't care. My break came on a rainy Tuesday. A woman in a trench coat sat at the bar, nursing a whiskey. She listened to me play a chaotic, improvised piece I called the Blue Balloon. When I finished, she walked over. I'm Eleanor Vance, she said. Dean of the Juilliard School. You have no technique, your posture is atrocious, and you play with too much anger. I stiffened. Thanks for the tip. But, she continued, placing a card on the piano, you have something I can't teach. Soul. Come see me tomorrow. 5 years after I left the banquet hall. I was standing backstage at Carnegie Hall. The poster outside read, Christopher Sol, the debut. I wasn't the scrawny, angry kid anymore. I was 23, fit, and composed. Eleanor had polished the rough diamond. I was known in the classical world as the Dark Prince, a pianist who played with a haunting intensity that made audiences weep. I adjusted my cufflinks. A knock came at the door. 5 minutes, Mr. Soule, the stage manager said. Thanks. Also, there's a young woman here. Says she's your sister. She has no pass, but she's persistent. My heart skipped a beat. Let her in. Susie walked in. She looked older, tired. Her clothes were clean but cheap, off-the-rack department store stuff. Not the designer brands the Blakes used to wear. Chris, she breathed, covering her mouth. You look incredible. Susie. I didn't hug her. I kept my distance. Why are you here? I saw the billboard, she said. I knew it was you. The eyes. I wanted to warn you. Warn me about what? Mom and Dad. They know too. They saw the article in the Times. I laughed, a short, dry sound. Let them come. I'm not afraid of them anymore. You don't understand, Susie said, her voice trembling. It's over, Chris. The money is gone. All of it. She sat on the small sofa, burying her face in her hands. Benjamin, he wasn't a lucky charm. He was a bottomless pit. Dad gave him access to the company accounts to manifest abundance. Ben gambled it away. He bought yachts, drugs, fake friends. When the money ran out 2 years ago, Ben stole Mom's jewelry and disappeared to Bali. The business collapsed. The house is foreclosed. I felt a strange, cold satisfaction. Karma. They're desperate, Susie whispered. They're living in a rental apartment in Queens. Dad had a stroke. Mom is, she's losing it. When they saw your picture, Mom started saying it was the prophecy. That the star of Solitude had stolen the light. They're coming here tonight, Chris. They want to sue you for parental support. They're going to cause a scene. Let them try, I said. Chris, please. Just leave out the back. Don't let them ruin this. I walked over and placed a hand on her shoulder. Susie, 10 years ago, I ran away. Tonight, I'm not running anywhere. Go take a seat in the front row. I have a ticket for you. The concert was electric. I felt the audience breathing with me. But my eyes kept darting to the side entrance. During the intermission, I heard the commotion. I am his father. You cannot stop me. The doors burst open. Security guards were wrestling with a man in a wheelchair and a woman who looked like a ghost of her former self. It was them. Dad looked frail, his face twisted in a permanent scowl. Mom was wearing a faded fur coat that looked moth-eaten, her makeup smeared. Christopher. Mom screamed, her voice cracking. Christopher, my son. You ungrateful wretch. You stole our luck. The audience murmured, horrified. The security guards froze, unsure what to do with the elderly couple. I stood up from the piano bench. I walked to the edge of the stage. The house lights came up, blinding me slightly. Let them go, I said into the microphone. The guards released them. Mom stumbled forward to the foot of the stage. Look at you, she spat, though her eyes were hungry, scanning my expensive tuxedo. You're rich. You're famous. And your father is rotting in a hovel. It's the curse. You sucked the life out of Benjamin to fuel yourself. Benjamin isn't here, is he? I asked calmly. Where is your solar child, mother? He is finding himself, she shrieked. He will return. But you owe us. We raised you. We fed you. You fed me leftovers, I corrected. And you told me I was cursed. I looked out at the audience. Thousands of people were watching this family tragedy play out. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, my voice projecting clearly. These are my parents. Oliver and Teresa Blake. 10 years ago, they threw a party for a stranger named Benjamin because a fortune teller told them he would make them rich. They forgot my birthday. They told me I was a curse. I looked down at Dad. He was glaring at me, hate burning in his eyes. I am not a curse, I said. And Benjamin was not a blessing. We were just children. You were the ones who were broken. You wanted magic because you were too lazy to work and too greedy to love. I'll sue you. Dad rasped. Filial laws. You have to support us. Go ahead, I said. My lawyers are excellent. But here is the truth, I owe you nothing. You didn't raise a son, you housed a ghost. And now, the ghost has walked out of the wall. I turned to the security. Please escort Mr. and Mrs. Blake out. They are disturbing the performance. No. Chris. Susie, tell him. Mom looked around wildly, spotting Susie in the front row. Susie, talk some sense into your brother. Susie stood up. The hall went silent. She looked at Mom, then at me. Sit down, Mom, Susie said quietly. You made your choice. You chose the blue balloons. You chose Ben. You traitor. Mom screamed as the guards dragged them away. Her wails echoed until the heavy oak doors slammed shut. The silence that followed was heavy, vibrating with tension. I walked back to the piano. I sat down. My hands were trembling slightly, but my mind was clear. This next piece, I said into the mic, is dedicated to my sister, Susie. It's called The Liberation. I began to play. It was a soft, hopeful melody that built into a triumphant crescendo. It was the sound of chains breaking. 3 years later. I sat on the terrace of my home in the Hamptons, watching the ocean. Susie was inside, laughing with her fiancé. She had gone to law school, paid for by me, and was now a prosecutor fighting fraud cases. We rarely spoke of our parents. We heard through the grapevine that Benjamin had been arrested for credit card fraud in Thailand. Mom and Dad were living in state-assisted housing. I sent a check every month, just enough to keep them fed, not enough to buy influence. It was the minimal legal requirement, handled by my accountant. I never visited. A delivery truck pulled up the driveway. A worker hopped out with a large box. Package for Mr. Soul, he said. I signed for it. I opened the box. Inside was a single, deflated blue balloon and a letter. It was from Benjamin. Chris. I'm in a Thai prison. Mom says you're rich. Bail me out. We're brothers, right? If you don't, I'll tell the press about the time I saw you push Susie down the stairs when we were 5. I stared at the letter. It was a lie, of course. I had never pushed Susie. I took a lighter from my pocket. I set the corner of the letter on fire and watched the paper curl into ash. Then, I picked up the blue balloon. It looked pathetic, wrinkled and small. I walked to the railing and let it go. The wind caught it, carrying the piece of rubber out toward the sea, where it bobbed on the waves like a piece of trash before sinking beneath the foam. Susie walked out, holding 2 glasses of lemonade. Who was that? Nobody, I said, taking a glass. Just an old debt, finally cancelled. We clinked glasses. The sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and violet. No blue balloons in sight. Just the horizon, wide and open.